I think I'm good. It's the first time I've used this presentation program before, and it's been a while. I'm a little rusty with my closer, like that. Everybody hear me okay? Two. I'm a little rusty with my presentation foo. It's been a little while. But my name's Biz, or at least that's my nickname and what I go under on Nostr. I've been a developer for about 25, actually more than that. I was saying to Manny earlier that I cursed the JavaScript creators as long ago as 1997. I first looked at JavaScript and groaned, and it's hasn't really improved that much since, to be honest. But but the project that I've been spending a lot of, or most of my time for the last 6 months working on, the Budabit client, all started when we asked ourselves the question of, like, what if GitHub was a protocol and not a platform? And it's how can we take back control of source code as developers, and how does that work in a decentralized protocol world like Nostr? So we set out to reimagine, as it says, how developers could collaborate in this age of decentralized protocols like Nostr. So we, as the state of the, sorry, this whole presentation arrangement's a little weird and funky for me. But, so at the moment, the status quo is that we build open source software. We currently build it on closed platforms. Even though Git itself is an open source project, it's quite famously part of the Linux kernel development. The platforms that we use for building that on are by and large closed platforms. And even those ones like Gitia and others, they still suffer from the same problems of all these other platforms in the way that they all have their own method of controlling identity. It's really difficult to move from one vendor to another. So we set out to, sorry, take a step back. So we find that our code and the way we communicate around those code and the communities we build, all of that is locked in these silos. Even if those platforms themselves are technically open source, it's almost difficult to migrate off them. And that infrastructure is fragile. Git itself is fairly static, but the APIs around those platforms for accessing them, be they GitHub, Gitia, whatever, change often without warning. Accounts can be shut down or vanish overnight. I'm sure you've all had that. The developers here have had that moment of, like, you've Googled and you've seen a link to the solution, or you've seen a link somewhere else, and you go there and it's the Git octopus with the sorry, not found, and it's just gone inexplicably. And there's the platform ownership, which is that the tools we use for control are ironically owned and controlled by some of the most centralized companies in the world. I mean, you don't get much more centralized than Microsoft and its ownership of GitHub. So we set out to address some of these issues, and the way that was the obvious choice was with Nostr, because Nostr gives us the primitives to fix this. Events replace APIs, so we no longer have the dreaded REST endpoint that you have to divine and work with the various REST peculiarities. We have everything is an event, signed portable event. There's no more brittle API integrations or version conflicts. The keys replace accounts. There's no more having to set up an account for every separate service, or have your GitHub account that you're logging into another Git provider or to another service so that you can address your issues because they're on Atlassian, but your Git repo's on GitHub, and you're chatting about everything in Discord or on Slack. And so we set out to look. Part of this is about how your key, your Nostr identity, can replace all of those different accounts and identities on all of those services and tie it all together in one nice little rug on the floor. The relays replace servers. There's now there's still the dependency on having a Git host somewhere, but the way we look at this, or the approach we've taken to this, is that management, all of the extra metadata, all of the extra information around your Git project now lives on relays as events that are stored, can be stored in multiple different places. So there's no one server where it's all centralized. There's no one single point of failure. And it's composable by default. You're not locked into one service platform, into one vendor, into their particular stack, or the particular utilities or functions that they operate. You can move transparently from one platform or from one service or app to another and still retain all of your data, all of your repos, everything that you need to build your open source project. And so the fruit of this is what we call Budabit. It's the Budabit based on this is its origin from the founder, Pleb5, started it as a local Bitcoin meetup club in Budapest, and that's where the name Budabit comes from, even though it sort of does hearken to maybe a little bit of the sort of philosophical Zen nature of Nostr. And we set out to build a client that would enable Git collaboration, messaging, code sharing, all of the features that modern open source developers need, all in one central place, and all to run on native Nostr infrastructure. So for the Git repositories, to build this, we use the NIP34, one of the most devious NIPs ever committed to the Nostr NIP library repository, and that gives us the features for full version control, built using Nostr primitives based on Nostr events for controlling the flow of your Git repository, the issues, the pull requests through patches, and so forth, and many other custom events that we've also developed in the process, which include snippets and permalinks, so that we have a way of sharing code that's both within the community, so that you can comment on, you can participate in discussions around code, but that's also, again, because it is just simply in the form of Nostr events, is available to any client, as we'll see outside of the Budabit client. And the real feature of Budabit, and one that we brought over from Flotilla, is this idea of relay-based spaces, so that you can have on your relay that's hosting these spaces, you can have private discussions as well. So, or private discussions that are centralized around a single relay, so that you can have a focused community that is able to participate in in a fashion that is at least gives the community some sense of privacy and ability to control and focus discussions on specific topics. And as it says, every action is a cryptographically signed Nostr event, which is the beauty of it. And so what does Budabit look underneath the hub, underneath the under the hood? Well, it all runs on Git logic. So we heard that software developers love Git so much that we thought we'd put Git in your browser. So the actual way that we implement most of this is we've adapted and upgraded a library called isomorphic Git, which runs as a worker thread in the background, so it doesn't clog everything up while it's doing its business. And that essentially puts full Git functionality into the browser. So that makes it possible to store, to pull, to push patches to do all of your Git actions that you would normally do locally, you can now do in your browser. And this is we then integrate that with Nostr using the various Nostr type events, so it supports all the full range of GitHub or GitLab features like opening pull requests, issues, and as well as being able to have conversations around them, all within a modern UI using Svelte 5, which has pretty much become the de facto for a lot of Nostr development. And of course the event protocols, the particular NIPs that I discussed, NIP 34, 29 and others, as well as some of our own. The idea is that it's your workflow, but decentralized. You can commit and push through standard Git commands that operate through the client. All of those events are propagated out through the relay networks, and any clients that support this will instantly sync. So it's a simple. It's the same workflow that many people are already used to with the added bonus of it's now no longer tied into a single vendor. And of course, as has been brought up many times, you just have a single identity, your one npub, your one set of keys that you can take anywhere you go. It's not just locked into Budabit. And freedom, of course. Yeah, we're all about that, as in beer and in speech. So this slide's a little, I don't know why this slide got cut off on the bottom. Oh yeah, whoop. And that's, so one of the problems with the monolithic vendors is that you're pretty much locked into their service, and that comes with all of the features that they provide. And some of those features are, to be honest, like fairly bloated. Like a lot of people often say that GitHub comes with a lot of bells and whistles that nobody even really knows how to use, or they're getting in your way. You know, who actually uses the project feature? Does it actually do anything? But it's there, you know. You're locked into the vendor, you have these data silos, and you're dependent on that platform. Even though, and this is the irony, that you're using a free and open source protocol like Git, you're forced into this vendor lock-in through all of these other features, many of which aren't even applicable or that useful. Whereas with the modern way, the Nostr way, this is you pick your stack. You can compose freely of the services that you want. So like if you don't like the Budabit client because it's got too much cruft in it, you can switch to another client that's using the same, that's got the same interoperability, and it's transparent. You don't have to do any exporting of data or anything special. You're able to use it as you please. In fact, you can even use work with a team, one that's using Budabit and the other is using your other preferred client, and they needn't even know the difference. And that's one of the other amazing advantages of Nostr that you just really don't find in any other system like this. It's that true modularity. You can mix and match, you can compose to your heart's desire. And as I say, use Budabit or don't. The data still flows. And why does this actually matter? True portability. As I said, everything can be migrated freely between clients. We allow for, at least with Budabit, we allow for offline first operations. So you're with your storage of your Git in the browser. It persists in between sessions. You can work offline. When you reconnect, it syncs with with the relays and the other services, with the other Git servers. It's private by design, so we can collaborate around Git repos. We can do it either in the open, or we can do it in privacy as well. So we can have the extra layer of encrypted communication, which these other platforms don't offer as well. So this is I guess, an added bonus. In platforms like GitHub or GitLab, your repos are either public or private, and that's the only option you have. With something like Budabit and Nostr, we can mix and match that as well. We can have the fully open repo with all of the the conversations happening in the open, with some selected conversations being private, if people want to choose to do so. And there's the community ownership aspect of it as well, which is that there's no company can shut this down. The data persists as long as there's copies of it on a relay somewhere. So it's that aspect of censorship resistance that is so frequently talked about with Nostr. And we see this as the future of collaborative code. Budabit is live today. I'll show a demo in a minute if time permits. We see that it's protocol first. So like I said a few times, the client is optional. The protocol is not. And it's truly open. So you can fork it, you can play with it, you can do your own thing. Just as we're building on top of Flotilla, Budabit is out there to be built on top of if that's what you want to do. Or as we have in our roadmap, our future is to make it much more composable and extensible, so that you can actually not necessarily need to fork it, but you can customize it to your own desires. And this isn't just about replacing GitHub. We've also set out to prove that we can do this in a decentralized manner, that it is possible to do something like open source development in public, shared globally. We're using protocols like Nostr. So this is kind of as much of a proof of concept of the of the theory of change behind Nostr as it is of the actual technology itself. And so the features, to give you a sense of where we're at and where we're going, we've been working quite diligently at this for about 6 months. And so far we brought the chat and community features that were already existing in Flotilla. We've brought over as part of the fork. And we added then the ability to view Git repos and their files natively in the browser. Then we added the feature to be able to fork repositories so that you can easily migrate your GitHub to any other Git repo as simple as clicking a few buttons. And then that will publish it on Nostr and make it available through the NIP34 events transparently. Following that, we then added the ability to apply patches so that you can take patches from Nostr and apply them directly to the Git repo. And the most recent feature we've landed is the ability to create new repositories as well. So we've effectively completed the entire Git cycle now within a Nostr client. Thank you very much. But we're not stopping there. Well, I mean, I feel like I might need a little break. It's been a fairly intense 6 months, but the next features that we've already started working on, and we've just started working with Augie, who I'm not sure if some of you know from the network, who's helping us build in the continuous integration and development. We've been working with others as well that have all contributed that I'll give the shout out to at the end. Following that is the building in the full Grasp support. Grasp is kind of the answer to, or an attempt at an answer of the whole total solution of Git. And this is where we, and one of the outstanding technical issues with Git and Nostr is the issue of authenticating, and that's has been one of the challenges that we've had. And we've had to sort of work around a lot of issues with how do you authenticate to especially services like GitHub and GitLab. And Grasp is the proposed solution to that. And that's the Git relay is authorized by signed Nostr proofs. And that's a way to authorize and to set up Git relays, Git repos over Nostr relays. Then the next phase, in-browser code editing, so taking it to the next step, so the client becomes the IDE. Adding additional features like context DVM to give it AI powers to provide the MCP support, so that you can, for the variety of reasons for code generation, debugging, and full mobile support. And the one I forgot to mention here is also Git stacking, which I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with, is an alternative to the pull request model. Anybody who's used Fabricator in the past would have come across Git stacking. It's a different method of approach to pull requests. So it's instead of individual branches forked off the main branch, you stack each commit on top of the main branch, and it overcomes a lot of the problems associated with PRs that require rebasing or merging to master, and makes it a lot easier to manage your stack. And it's an alternative method to the GitHub PR, and that's a feature that we've got in development as well. And one of the advantages of building in the green fields of Nostr and building a client like Budabit is we can experiment. We can have a look at what are the alternatives to the existing paradigms. And the people have gotten so used to the GitHub PR paradigm that they assume that it's a built-in part of Git, which it isn't. The actual Git Linux kernel maintainers mail their patches between each other using email. So the GitHub PR paradigm is a GitHub idea. And so the beauty of building something afresh with Nostr is that you get to experiment, you get to look at other ways of doing things. And so in summary, Budabit, collaborative code, decentralized, zero vendor lock-in, one identity, an infinity of possibilities. Good score. And so if time permits, how am I going for time? So it's just that who we are. I introduced myself. Five or Pleb 5, you may have seen floating around on Nostr. He runs another project called SatShoots, which is how I came across him, which is a freelancing platform for Nostr. So if you're a Nostr developer looking to pick up freelance work, you should definitely check it out. And we've also had a cast of dozens. We've had some quite valuable input from Dan Conway, who developed the Git workshop and another NIP34 support. Augie, who I mentioned, and many others. And of course, to Hodlbod, who developed Flotilla in the first place, which gave us this amazing platform. Special thanks to him. And is that the? And do I have time for? Yep. Just wanted to, and I can now. As I said, the Budabit is live. So, sorry. And it's a little bit painful in this modern setup. I want to see stuff break. Yeah, that's what everybody's here for. So this is what it looks like. So if you've used Flotilla before, you might be more familiar with the interface as it is already. But it's Flotilla is positioned as a potential replacement for Discord or for Slack. Gives you the opportunity to converse in threaded formats, to have discussion rooms, as well as providing the sort of additional features like calendars and threaded messages. We added the Git button, which gives you an overview of a whole bunch of repos, particularly the repos that are published already on Nostr. There's quite a lot already that you can choose from. Quite a lot of strange ones out there as well. It's one of the things about doing Nostr development, and when you start poking around in relays, the messages that you find there, the weird stuff that people throw up there, it's always fascinating to see what's going on out there. But once you've added a relay to your list, you can browse the relay. Oh, this is the wrong demo. You can browse the relays in an interface that's sort of similar to GitHub. It gives you an overview of the recent activity, the README. It might not work so well with the latency here at the moment, but we did build in a little terminal as well, because we. This is the bit where you might get to see it fail, Manny. The latency here on this network is pretty awful, I have to say. Yeah, exactly. It's fresh. We just what was it? RM R. That was what Shakespeare told me to put in there. But the additional sort of cool stuff that we've added is there's like a feed, which is, and again, using the power of Nostr events, this was super easy to do, this is a feed of a whole bunch of different Nostr events all thrown together that are related to your GitHub repo. So it's like the issues mixed in with comments on those issues, mixed in with pull requests as well. So you can see everything as if it's like an activity feed, but an activity feed that you can engage with and comment on and have discussions around. And there's the code, which is my favorite bit of meta, where we're looking at the Budabit repo itself, so we can go to the actual page that we're looking at now, which is always at the bottom, right? How stable is this in your release? This bit. This was one of the first pieces we landed. Yeah. We hope so. I will show. This is the savvy of you might have noticed the local host part, but I'll show you we had a slight issue with the deployment, so it's not entirely live at the moment. But this is the code of the page that we're looking at right now that you can view on GitHub, on Budabit, and that you can hit the back button accidentally and lose your place. Just another quick tour through the features, the issues, act like GitHub issues. You can assign people to them. So like, oh, that's the wrong one. That's the tag. Okay. And I'll wrap that up just by assigning Manny to one of our issues. No, we did not. This is entirely funded by Pleb 5 out of his own resources. Part of that was that his desire to add what he said was is a layer of accountability. We are talking about how we're going to, now that the product's growing, to expand out to look at other funding sources, to bring on other developers. But the project is live. Oops. Sorry, that's the joke. It's so this is the actual live one on budabit.club, and as you can see, we already advertised our appearance in Nostr Valley. So you can visit it. As I said, we had thanks to JavaScript, a slight deployment issue that I've got to fix first thing tomorrow morning, where some of the features aren't working as well live as they are on my local host, hence the joke. But that's it. I'll be around later on this evening. Thank you all very much, and Viva Nostra.